Hey everybody, welcome back. I apologize for no video last week. I actually was making a video and it featured this guy right here. If you're new to the channel or you don't remember, this was that $5 PC that we bought non-working in the hopes that we could get it working. And long story short, it ended up being that the processor was installed wrong and there were some bent pins and it was just kind of shoved into the socket. We pulled the processor out, straightened the pins out, put it back together, and it worked. It worked great. It actually worked great for a pretty good long while. And I decided, because last time we did the, we played Minecraft on it, we ran some benchmarks and stuff like that. We did it without a video card in there. And I got to thinking what would happen if we put, say, a GTX 750 Ti in there. And I had installed it and I was playing around on it, and it seemed like every time I put a load on the computer, well, not a graphical load, but more of a CPU load, like a heavy load on the CPU, it would just black screen, and if it was playing sound, the sound would stop. It would basically crash to black screen, no blue screen, no information, nothing like that. You restart the computer and everything would be fine. Started tearing into it, replaced the power supply, that wasn't it, replaced the RAM, that wasn't it, replaced the hard drive, that wasn't it. And what it ended up being was the Athlon 2 640 that was in it. Everything about it seems to work, but just once in a while you put a big enough load on the CPU and you get dead. So I replaced it with a Athlon X2 250 and ran it through a gambit of tests, having benchmark CPU ID or Cinebench R15, and it works fantastic. So I jumped on eBay and I did some searching around, sort by lowest price, buy it now, and I got another processor. So here it is. A few scratches on there, but all the pins, if it'll focus on there, still perfectly aligned. This should work great. So I don't know, a day or so after I bought this, I got to thinking, well, that's silly. I bought the same CPU to pop in there and get no better, performance out of it. So then I started looking around and seeing what could be put in here. And unfortunately, the motherboard that's in this computer is limited in its power delivery. So 95 watts TDP is the most CPU you can throw at it. And you can do some searching around, and there are a few higher powered Phenom processors that you could put in there that are typically 125 watts, but there are a few SKUs of them that are listed or rated at 95 watts. But I didn't want to take a chance on that. Maybe this motherboard's not compatible with that, or there could be, something in the BIOS. Anyways, I didn't want to stray too far from what I knew would work in here. So I got to doing a little research, and really the Athlon 2 640, as far as price wise goes, was kind of like the best thing for it. You could get a Phenom 945, for a couple bucks more. But if you went to like the 955, or if you tried to find, and I forget the number of it, but if you try to find the one that is, the specific SKU that's 95 watts for the higher powered one, but the price is too high, especially for our $5 friend here. So after poking around, I seen that the 945 Phenom 2 is pretty much on paper exactly a Athlon 2 640. The Athlon 2 640 being about a 6 months newer chip than the Phenom, but like I said, on paper they are the same thing except for one little tidbit, and that is the L3 cache on the Phenom 2. So I said, what the heck? I'll throw another 15 bucks at this thing and get a Phenom 2 945. Can you focus? Can you see? Can you do it? Come on. Anyways, trust me, it's a 945. So on paper, the Athlon 640 and the Phenom 945, they're pretty similar. They're both 4 cores, 4 threads. They both are a 3 gigahertz chip. everything about them is almost completely the same. Of course, they're different generations. One's a Procus, one's a Deneb. They both use about the same power draw, 0.85 to 1.4, 1.1 to 1.4. Neither of them supports hyperthreading, so it's 4 cores, 4 threads. Both of them are DDR2 and DDR3 compatible. Both of them have the same L1 and L2 cache, but the Phenom has this right here, and this I think is going to be very important. It has an L3. So I'm wondering how much better performance we'll get out of a chip with L3. And like I said, everything else is completely on par. They're the same chip, except for this extra 6 megabytes of L3 cache. So let's put the good Athlon 2 in there, run it through its paces. We'll put the Phenom in there, run it through its paces. And then I would like to put my 750 Ti in there. Whoa, that's really close. And see just how much that extra L3 adds to gaming and GPU performance and stuff like that. So let's do it. Okay, that's kind of weird. I booted up the computer, everything went fine, and I opened up Task Manager here, and it's showing as an Athlon X2 250, and I definitely didn't put that in there because, yeah, it's sitting here on my desk. And so I opened up CPU ID, hardware monitor, and it shows it as an Athlon X2, or AMD Athlon 2 X4 640T. However, I'm only showing 2 CPU cores. So let's restart. There we go. AMD Athlon X4 640. That was weird. I don't know I've ever seen that before. Weird. So let's run it through a Cinebench. The old CPU was not able to make it through its entire Cinebench run. It would, like I said, just crash the whole computer to black screen. You'd have to restart it, and then it would act like nothing had ever happened. So alright, just about finished with this run here. Our last time running it with the other Athlon was a 256, and we just scored a 259, so that's in the margin of error. And then when I had the Athlon X2 250 in here, I had run it, to make sure everything was stable, and it looks like we got a 132. So we are basically twice as fast. 132 times 2 being 264, 259. So that's always good. I'm going to run this a couple more times to make sure that it can continue running well. We don't have to record this, and yeah, I'll run it like 3 times just to make sure that it can run stably. Well, unfortunately, I wasn't recording, and it turns out that maybe this motherboard does have a problem with power delivery, because we just crashed with the new processor, which means that was a waste, and we're no closer to... If nothing's running hot, it's gotta just be power delivery. Oh, that's a bummer. That's a bummer. Okay, well, that is a bummer, but we're not gonna let it go down like that. So, I went and did something dumb. Boom. Went on Craigslist. Well, actually, I went on Facebook. Found an AM3 motherboard, and it was the only one on there, and I was lucky enough that nobody else wanted it, so I went and bought it. And silver lining of this is it comes with 8 gigabyte of DDR3 memory, and it'll be in dual channel, so we don't have to do this single channel dual 8 gigabyte stick. So once this is all said and done, I'm not going to be able to recoup my money on this, I don't believe, but hey, you know what? It is what it is. It's for science. Is L3 cache important? I wager a guess to say that yes, it is. So let's find out. So my plan is I'm going to take the motherboard out. You know, I'm going to reuse the cooler and all that. Take the new motherboard, slap it into here, get rid of this power supply because this power supply doesn't have SATA connectors. I've got, you know, an adapter in there. And it doesn't have a PCI Express power plug. Also, I believe it's only like 230 or 250, yeah, 250 watts max on this. So we wouldn't want to run a 750 Ti in it anyways. So I got plenty of power supplies laying around, so we'll throw like a EVGA 400 in here. And we'll make this into kind of a nice little gaming rig. And we'll do our tests. So let's get started. So we got our power supply in, EVGA 400 watt. We got the new graphics card in, GTX 750 Ti. There's wires kind of hanging on it, but I don't think they're gonna touch. I could pick these up, hook them onto something. But honestly, I think they're fine. I mean, we'll find out when we first turn it on. I mean, a little rubbing's not gonna hurt anything. So let's go ahead and give it its first boot and set up the BIOS and stuff like that. I hope she boots, because if it doesn't, what's up? So like I was saying, I hope it boots because this will be the most work I've ever put into a computer to get it to work. We have replaced everything working at least once, except for the fan. This guy's original. Anyways, let's hook it up. Okay, will the power button work? Will it post? Will everything work the way it's supposed to? Let's find out. Power button's on. I don't see hard drive activity. It's loud. It posted. We didn't get into the BIOS, it would seem. I didn't plug the keyboard in. That's a problem. Alright, we're up and running. Back into Windows. But the fan profile for this motherboard has this, even on standard, it has the CPU and the chassis fan running at full bore, full tilt it seems. So we gotta quiet those down a little bit. I did keep this wire out of the way because it did end up barely rubbing on those fans. And well, we don't want it to rub through, so of course, it's not going to do that. Everything seems to be working. Our power light is on, our HDD light flickers, our power light on the switch is on. So the front panel, if you're interested in that for the motherboard on this Pavilion P6000 series, is standard front panel layout, so that's kind of cool. So I'm going to go into the BIOS and quiet those down a little bit. Wow, so silent mode did not quiet them down at all. That's cool. Okay, so we're finally up and running. I quieted down the fans. I had to add a couple of resistors. Well, one per fan. They look like this. And basically what I think they do is reduce it from 12 volts to 7 volts. I'm not sure on that, but anyways, it's made the audio levels of the thing way better. And they could be better, but turns out this motherboard cannot control the speed of a 3-pin fan, even though it has 3-pin fan headers on it. It's kind of weird, but it is what it is. Not a big deal. So let's run CPU or Cinebench R15 and see if it can't run 2 or 3 without crashing. Just finished the first run and we ran, got a 267. Previous time to that was our save score of 256. So I'm going to attribute that to having dual channel memory now. Not a huge improvement, but it is an improvement. I'm going to run it 2 more times to make sure it can. I'll see you when it's finished. Let's go ahead and just run a round of Heaven and see what our score is. Then we'll swap out the processor to the Phenom and get that L3 cache going and see if things change much. So we're going to run this in full screen, 1080p, high, you know, all that things. We have a 750 Ti, so this should run pretty good, probably about at least 30 frames a second. Okay, I take that back. We're running in the opening scene, which is oftentimes kind of the lower scenes, over 40 frames a second. So that's little 750s working a little overtime in there. I am pretty thoroughly impressed by this Athlon. It's really beyond expectations, and I know a good amount of this is probably going to be the 750 Ti, but you can't argue with results like that. FPS of 54.2 and a score of 1366. Yeah, we hit the minimum FPS of 18.7, but even the fastest computers stutter when it's doing that flyby at night over the bridges and stuff like that. For whatever reason, it always stumbles there. Anyways, holy cow. Let's go ahead and put this Phenom in there and see if it gets better. Alright, up and running with the Phenom. And like I said, it's basically everything's the same except for now we have this L3 cache. Let's see what kind of improvements we get. Alright, so the score to beat is 269. Keep an eye on those temperatures. I don't think they're going to change. And hopefully we get a better score. All right, wrapped up, and 300. That is quite the improvement. That's about, I don't know, 10 or 11% improvement. So, whew, let's, yeah, save that score. Let's go ahead and run Heaven Benchmark here. All the same settings, you know, high, full screen, system 1080p, DirectX Online, blah, 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 run. Okay, right off the bat, I'm seeing 45s in the beginning area, so I mean, 1 FPS is still an improvement. So let's wait till it gets to the end and see what it comes up with. Okay, finished up with a Heaven benchmark run, and it's a little bit disappointing. Our minimum FPS is a little bit lower, but I mean, it's a fluke. As far as this benchmark goes, the minimum FPS really kind of is. It's always, I think, artificially low because of that one scene where, you know, going down at night, going over those bridges, it stalls even the quickest system for some reason, and it drops your minimum FPS down. But our FPS averaged 54.4. I think the last time we got 54.2 or something like that, and like a 1366. So the score didn't change much there, but rendering CPU intensive stuff seems to be higher. By about 10% because of that L3 cache. So what can I say about this little adventure here? I just really wanted to play around with this and put a GPU into it. The 750 Ti I've had laying around for a little while. I thought it would complement the system pretty well, and I wanted to see how well it would do. Pretty good. I believe it's above expectations, and I'm a little bit let down by the L3 cache performance. Like I said, it's about 10, maybe 11% faster in heavy loads for CPU rendering or computing or something like that. But it doesn't seem to help a whole lot in games. However, I only ran the Heaven benchmark. Real world applications, like if you were playing Grand Theft Auto or something like that, might have a greater impact. But as of now, I think I'm going to call it for this video because I've been messing with this computer for 2 weeks now. And I feel like I've given it more love than it's ever had in its entire life. So, you're welcome, buddy. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed this. I mostly enjoyed it. There was a lot of kind of frustration in it, but it is what it is. So, if you enjoyed it, please go ahead and leave me a thumbs up. And if you haven't subscribed, maybe give me a subscription. Feel free to subscribe. It doesn't really, I don't believe it costs anything. So go ahead and click that subscribe button. And, I'll see you in the next one. I'm not sure what it's going to be, but I hope to see you in it. And thanks very much for watching. I'll see you next time.